and I'm here to talk to you about casting at Floyd Central. And some of you all have had experience with casting at the show, or at this school, and some have not. But in the student handbook, so when you get your login for Charms, definitely go to Charms, and you'll want to look under Forms and Handouts. And in that book, in that area, there's a handbook, a student handbook. Pages 14 through 16 is all about casting. And as Mr. Willis said, Floyd Central Theater tends to emulate a professional theater when it comes to many of their relationships with the students and the expectations on those students. That also includes casting. So when a show is cast here at Floyd Central, it is very much done very close to what a professional theater would do. For Mr. Steiner, he's always looking for some qualities in a student, and even with these three qualities, it's still a puzzle to put together. But he's always looking for a good attitude, a helpful attitude. He's always looking for a reliable student, so a student that always shows up and is on time or early, and also ability. Ability, of course, is part of casting, and sometimes that means that your student may not get cast due to one of those things, but it's a puzzle. If your student has all three of those things, often he's moving 2 or 3 people around, and during the audition process, he's having people read lines together, and that casting can work like a puzzle as well. And sometimes the student will get cast, sometimes they won't. And one thing Mr. Steiner likes to say as well is that your student is auditioning all the time. It's a little bit of pressure as a young person, but that attitude, that reliability, those two things come into play all the time, whether it's in class or any other time. I'm gonna keep track of that. Okay, so some of the requirements for auditioning, I know some of your students have already auditioned for Guys and Dolls. Some of the audition requirements for a general audition, the very first audition, is usually a song and a monologue, or a monologue, or both. And those specific times and everything are in the handbook, so I recommend looking at that. Help your student with that. And then if your student were to get a callback, Mr. Steiner will often have a more specific song or some lines to read, or often will put 2 students that he thinks would work together in 2 different roles together to see how they work out. And he'll switch people up and do that type of thing. My recommendation as a parent of a student who auditioned a lot but didn't always get roles that she felt that she should is audition often, interview often. Any opportunity you can with your student, if they think they're going to pursue theater, audition often. Interviewing, though, is such a great skill to have, and no matter what career your student's going to go into, interviewing is so critical. So any chance they have to interview with business people or theater people, it's just a good experience. The other advice that I would give is have your student ask Mr. Steiner for feedback on their audition, because especially if they're going to pursue this as a career, it gives them a chance to improve, to figure out what they need to work on, and remember, for this role at this school, that may mean that they're not going to get cast. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't get cast at a school or another performance here in the area or something else, but with such a big group of students, and many of them are so talented, it is hard, and I think that improving your skills, especially in the ability part of those 3 qualifications, helps your student. So ask for feedback. And the other bit of advice that I would have is just to remember that beyond the auditions, Mr. Steiner and his crew, Angel Hampton, Megan Bliss, the other directors, they spend many hours casting a show. So if I know that my daughter went through many hours of agonizing over waiting, so sometimes we had to wait over a week or more for a cast list. And sometimes she didn't get a role that she maybe thought she should have gotten because she was called back But through the 4 years of high school, she learned that all those things have helped her, her character. So she's tried to just be more patient. And now being in college, she has not auditioned yet. We know that that will prepare her for whatever she does, whether she's interviewing for a job or whether she's auditioning for a show. So I have a few more minutes. Again, look in your handbook. There's a great section on auditioning and on casting. Does anybody have any questions? No. You're awesome. So definitely make sure you're signed up for Charms. Has anybody logged into Charms yet? If you have, make sure to do that. You'll get that information towards the end. I think Jean will be talking about that back in the auditorium. And do Charms. Make sure to help volunteer. Just one little role for each show would help so much, whether it's the VIP room, concessions, ushering, just one night helps so much. I know that we really have so much fun, had so much fun as parents working together to do all the untold stuff that people don't really talk about. So it's a lot of fun to do that. So, awesome. Do I have another minute?
Yeah.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right.
Did you say you did theater in college?
I did not.
You did not.
My daughter is. So
Okay.
my daughter graduated in May, and she auditioned. Well, she applied to colleges, and she auditioned for some programs, and she's actually Ball State, and she is pursuing a BFA in musical theater. So.
I didn't notice the apple didn't fall from the tree.
Yeah, no. I can sing a little bit. That's better. So
You know a little bit.
she can sing and dance. She was, yeah. Since when she started here, she told me, she said, I think I'm going to do this as a career. And she had been in several plays earlier in her life and said, and I never pushed it. I never said you have to have a backup plan. And she really pursued it and asked for that feedback from Mr. Steiner and any auditions she did. And she would audition for other shows, for Albany River Stage and a few other local theaters. We can't believe she's doing it, and we just hope she's enjoyed it and is successful.
Does she want to teach or she wants to?
She has said, so without me saying you need a backup plan, she's been very, I want to teach one day. She knows that she hopes to teach, just whether it's high school or.
She'll be great at whatever.
Thank you.
She's a dog.
Thank you. She's enjoying it.
I miss her.
Thank you so much. She's excited today. I think you are headed out that way, aren't you?